These tales of Reddit will make your stomach turn. Leave while you still can. And remember, kids.
Fear the unknown. Fear the unknown.
Number 1. I keep my son inside a chest. Each morning when I wake up, I open the chest where I keep my son. I stroke his small skull and murmur, "Good morning," although I know he can no longer hear me. I hope he doesn't think I've abandoned him. I hope he knows I never will. When my son died of a fever, I refused to let him go. He was only a baby, and all that I had left. So I turned to the stories my own mother had told me, the rituals and legends I'd learned in childhood. The rules of bringing someone back from the underworld seemed so easy. I scoffed at the stories of those who failed, sure that my willpower would be stronger than theirs. I forced my way through to the fields of night, and I found my son's faint, pale soul. I guided it all the way back to his body, never looking back once. When I saw my son open his eyes again and smile at me, I thought I had made the right choice. He laughed, he ran, he played just as he had before. I even believed I could pretend nothing had happened. Then a few days later, I saw the rock creeping up his skin. At that moment, I realized my mistake. I hadn't restored my son to life. I had only brought his soul back to his corpse. I tried to comfort him as his body swelled and decayed. He wailed day and night in fear as his flesh fell from his bones. Only when his throat rotted away did he stop screaming. I attempted to return to the underworld, to return my son's soul, but the way would not open to me again. I cheated death, and my punishment was to keep what I stole. When his ligaments finally broke down, I gathered his bones and placed them in the antique chest I inherited from my mother. Only the best would do for my son. Sometimes my son's bones lie still inside the chest for hours, even days, and I dare to hope that his soul found its way back to where it belongs. But sooner or later, his bones always begin to rattle again, and I know he's still alive. Once, all I wanted was to have my son here with me. But now, I would give anything for him to die. Number 2. Uncle Tommy's visit. Now remember, I don't want you talking to him unless I'm around, you hear? Yes, Dad. I'm serious. Now tuck in your shirt, he's here. The front door swung open and there stood Uncle Tommy, drenched in sweat from a day's work in the summer heat. "It's a scorcher out there, ain't it?" he said, putting his bag on the floor and untying his boots. "I appreciate you letting me crash for the night." "Just so long as you're gone in the morning," my dad replied coldly. "Of course." "Now," Uncle Tommy said, turning to me and lowering himself to a knee. "Where's my hug at? Been a while since I seen you last." I took a couple steps toward him and leaned in for a hug. His tight embrace made me uncomfortable, and I let out a light whimper. "Don't you know it's 100 degrees out there?" he asked, tugging at my long sleeves. "I haven't been outside today," I recited to him. "Don't you have some chores to finish up?" Dad interjected. I knew that was my cue to leave, so I shuffled off to my room. Later that night I lay in bed, tossing and turning, unable to be comfortable, when I heard the thud of footsteps in the hallway outside my bedroom. After several long seconds of silence, the door opened quietly, the dark silhouette of a man entered the room, and the door closed again. For several more seconds there was nothing but unrelenting silence. I might have thought I had dreamt it all if it weren't for the sound of a hushed breath being carefully released. I could feel him getting nearer. The warmth of another person in the room was unfamiliar at this hour. I was not prepared for this. I prayed he would go away, to even come back in the morning if he must. He reached down and touched me. He rolled me onto my stomach and lifted up my shirt. From the corner of my eye I could see two things, the faint beam of a pocket flashlight, and Uncle Tommy's eyes studying my bare skin. His rough fingers ran up and down my back. Suddenly, he got up and walked to the bedroom door and left. I tried again to fall asleep, eventually succeeding. He was gone by the time I awoke. Around noon the phone rang while my father was out. "Hello?" I answered. "Hey buddy. Uncle Tommy?" "Yeah. Your dad around?" "No sir, went to the store." "Good," he said, his voice a bit shaky. He was silent for a moment. "I'm calling about last night. I don't know if you were awake or not." I was. "Well, then I'll just get right to it. I've got a question for you, and I need for you to be honest with me. Can you do that?" "Yes, sir." "How'd you get all them bruises?" Number 3. How to scare Dad. My father is the scariest man I've ever known, and when armed with a bottle of beer he reaches nightmare levels. Just the crackle of his belt or rise in his voice was enough to make me shake like a leaf. One night, while I struggled to get comfortable in bed from the bruises and sounds of my mom's crying, I hatched an ingenious idea to stop the pain and suffering, scare Dad. Clearly he just didn't know how his actions made us feel, but if I scared him like he scared us, maybe then he would change his ways. I tried anything I could think of to produce some fright and scare Dad straight. I would hide and jump out at him, but he didn't even flinch. I placed a toy snake in the toilet, but that only resulted in a beating for me. Finally, I thought of destroying his alcohol. I know that people become scared when they lose something they love, so one by one I poured my dad's bottles down the drain and eagerly awaited his reaction. I knew this would be it, this would be the thing to scare him. That night, I remember my father discovering the empty bottles and becoming angrier than I've ever seen him. I remember him wrecking the house. I remember him storming into my room. I remember his hands around my neck and me seeing black. Luckily, my planning and hard work that night paid off though. Today, my father lives in a constant state of fear. I'm always watching him, how timid and nervous he is at all times. Whenever I pay him a visit his complexion turns a pasty white, his body shivers like I used to and he breaks into a cold sweat. I scared my father so good, you would think he saw a ghost. Birthday girl. Good morning, sunshine. Time to wake up. I open my eyes and see Nurse Judy, ready to give me my morning injection. I sit on the bed and roll up my pajamas sleeve. I feel the needle under my skin and the medication flowing inside my veins. The nurse gives me a wide smile. Good girl. You can go to the canteen now and have breakfast with your friends. Friends? I don't have friends here. My friends are almost 60 miles away from me. Enjoying life, learning new stuff, making out at parties. Certainly not spending their youth in a psychiatric ward. My parents put me there. It was after another anxiety attack at school. I lost control and tried to do something stupid. Now everything seems stupid to me. I pass by Nutsy Nora's room. Her yelling is impossible to ignore. She keeps screaming Kelly and Jenna over and over again, whatever these names mean. I see two doctors rushing to her room with a set of tranquilizers. This place is full of people like her. I don't think I belong here. I enter the canteen and hear a loud surprise. I look around and see other patients gathered around a cake with number candles, 1 and 7, and an inscription, "Happy birthday, Robin." Right, it's my 17th birthday. Yay. I totally forgot. I force myself to smile and blow the candles. The cake tastes like soap. Or a cough syrup. I hide both candles in my pocket when nobody's watching. I guess it's the only gift I can count on today. I stop one of the nurses on the way back to my room. I ask if my parents are going to see me. She shrugs and walks away without saying a word. Bitch. As I lay in bed, I stretch my arms and look at my hands. They look so weird. So damn weird. Maybe it's a side effect of one of those medications? Nurse Judy interrupts my contemplation. She storms in with an afternoon dosage of pills. How are you feeling, my dear? Did you like the birthday surprise? She asks, with that annoyingly sweet smile. Yeah, I forgot today's the day. She takes my hand and says, oh, don't worry, darling, it happens to everybody. As she holds my hand, I ask her why my skin looks so strange. Nurse Judy gives me a sympathetic gaze. I think it's normal at your age, don't you think so, sweetie? Is she trying to make a fool of me? Oh, I've had enough. But I'm only 17. I say imploringly. I don't know any other teenager with hands like these. Just look. I take the candles out of my pocket and almost rub them in her face. You see, 1 and 7. 17. I bellow. Judy gently takes the candles from my shaking hands. Robin, it's not 17. Let me show you the right order. It's 7 and 1. 71.